So let's try and create our first post request. First of all, let's get rid of this nonsense up here because I'm not going to send information when I post to my backend. I'm not going to send any information in the URL like we just talked about. Instead, I'm going to select post right here, and then I'm going to send my information inside the body so it's hidden from the world. Now, there's a few ways to send data. We are going to jump to the raw format, and we are going to select, normally it says text right here, but I'm going to select JSON right here. So I want to send my data to the backend as JSON. We talked about that earlier when we talked about JSON versus XML. Here's just if you want to send plain text, you can do that. You can also send JSON and you can also send XML, right? So it's up to you how you send data to the backend. In my case, I send it as a post request in the body, raw as JSON, right? And I just added a small example of actually something I can send to my backend. Again, notice this is just JSON, so it's going to send what I call a customer, needs a first name, a last name, an address, and that's how I want to create my first customer. So the post request matches what we would call create inside the CRUD setup, right? So let's try and actually jump to our code and add a breakpoint so we can see what we're actually getting right here. So inside the code, you'll notice one thing right away. I'm inside my HTTP post, because that's where the post request will get. And notice right here, I just still need to say API/customers. Let's try and jump back to Postman, API customers. I just changed the method. So it's exactly the same URL as read all, but I just changed the method. So it's very easy to use your REST API now because I know I just need to write this always and then decide the method that I want to kind of send. So I choose post, a body, raw, JSON. I send this to you. But there's one problem. Let's just stop the program because right now the basic post request expects that we're getting a string. Now I'm not sending you a string. I'm actually sending you a customer in this case, right? So let's just change this into customer because that's what I'm actually passing in the body. So notice the name right here, it says from body, which pretty much means I'm going to grab this data from the body. There's also other types here like from parameter and stuff like that. We'll check that out later, but now I'm grabbing the data from body. And I'm going to use that data to actually create for you automatically a customer object that you can then use in your code. Is it that simple? Yes, it is. So think of it this way. Your request right here is going to be received by the REST API you built. I'll just stop the debugger while I talk. It'll be received by the REST API you built, and then what will happen is it'll actually going to take the JSON that I'm going to send right here. It's going to take that JSON and convert it into, by using the new keyword, it'll create a new customer, and then I'll just pass that data into each property in that customer if the customer has the property names, right, that I pass right here. So it needs to have a first name, a last name, and an address, or else it won't find it as properties inside my customer. Let's just check out the customer. So notice the customer has a first name, last name, and address. And that's why this will work, right? So I want you guys to notice that I'm sending the exact same properties names in my JSON as my customer actually contains. Also, I'm sending in the types that I expect inside the customer. And another thing you should notice is it doesn't matter if it's upper or lowercase here. The .NET framework will still figure out for you if it has the same name, I'll use it as a property. Enough talking, let's try and actually execute this. So let's try and send this request right now. Boomy. Hopefully I hit my breakpoint. Bam, the breakpoint is hit. And again, it takes the JSON now behind the scenes for you and says it's a post request, so that's why I'm hitting this action right here. I'm grabbing the data from the body that you just sent me. I'm going to grab that data and I'm going to try step by step to fill out your customer with the values you sent me, right? So if you said your first name was Dylan, and actually I did, then I'm going to put that into your property of Dylan, right? Bam. If you said your last name was Oinky, I'm going to put that into your last name. If you said the address was Oinky Street, I'm going to put that into the address. And the ID, you didn't send any ID, so I'll just default that to 0 because it's an int value. That's how simple it was. Now I just pass some data. I don't put it in the URL, I don't have to. I hide it inside the body of my request, and I receive it right here. Now we just need to figure out what we want to do with this customer when we're getting him. And let's actually just go in here and say, dear service, I got a new customer for me. Can you please create that customer? and I'll just pass in the customer. Right? Now this service was already built for us when we started designing the console app, so this is so easy now for us to actually create a customer. Next lesson we'll try and actually return some information about what we just did, but for now let's just try and continue. And now the customer was hopefully created, unless we did something horribly wrong inside our repository. But it should mean that now if I go and do a GET request, so I just jump back to the GET right here, and I do a send, I should actually have a third customer available right now. Let's just continue. Jump back, but I don't. So something is wrong in my code when I create a customer, and that we'll have to fix in the next lesson. See you next time. Have fun.